Now we're live.
Okay.
Well, sorry, we're spinning. Now I think we're live.
Oh, yeah.
We were spinning for a hot minute there, but
Uh,
we're there. We made it.
LangTime
Woo!
to Welcome Studio. I'm going to hit the old focus button here. We're on Do Not Disturb.
I'm gonna actually open the language document.
Yeah, give us a shout if we're not loud enough. Uh, and yeah.
That was a hot mitten, wasn't it, Jake? I said mitten instead of minute. I'm fine. It's good. Today's gonna be a great stream.
That seems like a some sort of Britishism to give somebody a hot mitten.
I said mitten.
I know.
Minton.
Oh.
Not a mitten. Mint. Do you hear the nasal? Mitten
Oh.
versus mitten.
That's what.
Totally different.
That's what they call it when they make coins. I'm gonna do a hot mitten.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Or peppermints. I could be making peppermints.
Yeah.
I could be minting peppermints.
CC languagist.
Whew. Yes, we've.
That's how it's pronounced?
Now, see, I've said it incorrectly because I thought it was Sissa languagist, but I've had the languagist part. I just did the beginning part incorrect because I was taking it from Sicily, right? Like I was doing that pattern.
I can think of one E that shouldn't be there. And yeah, we're done with all the bad mittens. We're looking for some good mitten here.
That's why they call you Mitten Penny. Yes.
It's hot mitten on the LCS. LTS.
Oh, LCS, LTS. We got them all.
Yeah. No, I mean in your actual name.
Oh, you would take out the E after language?
Yeah.
And then just have IST?
Yes.
GIST?
Yes.
That's what David is talking about.
Yeah. I don't understand the C either. I mean, because I would think Sicilian too, because it's got, isn't that the symbol of the Trevi Fountain?
I can't see well enough. I'm sorry. Is there a way to like zoom in?
Oh, well, they are Sicilian. Well, that makes a sense.
I thought I remembered you talking about being in Italy and some Italian. It's the Sicilian Triskelion. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Triskelion. Looks like it.
Because, yeah, now correct me if I'm wrong, but Languagist, I believe that you and your partner recently got married, but like that was part of the discussion was like what gets recognized in Italy, what you can do that's legally recognized. So anyway, I feel like we've had that discussion, and I feel like that was you. I may be thinking of someone else.
These are some gorgeous sculptures. Let's see. Look at this. A Triskelion is a thing.
That's really cool looking. Make sure that's pulled over because nobody can see that image.
Sure.
That is super cool looking.
So this is a Triskelion is just a thing. It's just the same image in three shapes like that.
Thank you, Sissa Languagist. Okay, no, CC Languagist. I'm gonna get it. CC Languagist. So it was not CC Languagist. Somebody else, but you all were here as part of that discussion.
Ooh,
so
look at this. A mural depicting a Triskelion on the ceiling of the Katia Church in Sarema.
Luca was who it was. I'm sorry. Go on.
Right. Isle of Man.
Oh my God, look at this gorgeous little blue flag.
There's the flag of Sicily. Wow. That's Irkutsk Oblast. Yeah. That's...
It's a molecule.
Yeah. Well, this is really neat. You know what? This gives me an idea. Maybe we can, because I haven't done the beaver flag yet. Maybe there could be some sort of a Triskelion for the beaver flag.
Because it's all one continuous line, right? Like that's what I'm seeing.
Well, that one is, but I mean, you know,
those
if you
aren't.
See some
yeah,
of the,
no, those aren't. But like, I really like this idea of a continuous line and doing some sort of designs with it. That's fun.
Yeah.
3 big tails.
Yep. Anyway.
I like that.
All right. So let's start
Hey, Danielle.
with the, oh boy, where's this? 19, so it's got to be the next. Wait a minute. Oh, wait, it was 19. Okay. All right. Well, I've blown it. You've seen everything. They've seen everything. I'm sorry. But, I did want to have a chat about the poll.
Well, we can still have a chat.
You don't think they'll be too disappointed?
In academic papers, you know the outcome before you read the paper. You read the paper to find out how the outcome came to be. And so this is what they just saw the results if they were super paying attention to your scrolling. And that's fine. But the question is, what were those options? Let's remember what the options were and where we landed.
And everybody knows that the both of us are academics. Both of us with a strong academic background.
And
that's it.
You went to Berkeley. How much stronger can that get?
As an undergrad.
Psst, doesn't matter. You went to Berkeley. And it is cis languagist. It was the wrong hopeful transcription.
Yeah.
That one's hard to do in a transcription where you're trying not to use IPA. How to get the si sound to come across.
I do have a master's degree. 2005 UC San Diego. It's just not.
Which is a really good school, but like Berkeley is Berkeley.
It's not about the school, it's about the degree, I think. And it's just that.
No, it's the school.
A master's degree is. Do you remember that episode of Parks and Rec where Leslie goes to Washington, D.C. for the first time? Ben Wyatt is, he's working on a campaign there. And they're mixing with a whole bunch of people. And there are these 2 young women who are talking about their jobs in Washington, D.C. And then they talk to Leslie. It's like, oh, what are you doing? It's like, I'm on the city council. And she's like, oh, that's so good for you. My grandmother's on the city council in her city. It keeps her busy. That's like a master's degree.
I feel like a lot of people would beg to differ who have not gotten a master's degree or who are currently working on one and are stuck in the mires.
True.
And I feel that they are going to feel very differently about it.
That's true. It depends where you're at and where you're from. It's kind of like the way that in some academic circles you're made to feel, I think. And so why am I perpetuating that? Why am I perpetuating that?
I do see that linguistics is a field that if you don't have your PhD, then it's like, why even bother with a grad degree?
Yeah.
And that was one thing that I had to talk to a lot of my undergraduate students about because they were very interested in getting a master's in linguistics. And I had to be very frank with them that it was like, that is fine if that's your passion. But like as the job market stood at the time, I don't know if it shifted in the last 5 years, as the market stood at the time, it wasn't going to help anyone get a job because for the jobs where they were like, we want you to have a linguistics degree, it was PhD or nothing. Like we weren't even going to look at you. And so, or it was a master's in linguistics, but you also had to have a co-master's in like computer science and, like you had to have 2 masters instead of 1. And so that was like a conversation I ended up having a lot. And so in the field of linguistics, I can see why maybe you have been made to feel that way. But I do think it is really unfortunate. And I am also a strong proponent of the fact that we have a lot of people in the community who I swear know way more about linguistics and language than I do. And like my degree is kind of meaningless in that aspect because it's like what my PhD says is I'm very good at following rules. I'm very good at jumping through red tape. And I'm very good at producing very long works that fit under someone else's standards. Because that's what getting a PhD is. And so like when your advisor tells you, no, you're going to write a chapter on this and it kind of kills you a little bit 'cause you're like, I hate that. You're like, well, you know what? I guess that will be a chapter in my dissertation because you say it must be so. And if I don't get your approval, I go nowhere. So,
True.
yes.
I'll throw this out there. for anybody that's still in academia, something that really interests me, and it is kind of like an academic question that I think would be very interesting to ask and have answered to see if there is an answer, is how people in various languages with strong gender systems, which I mean something like Spanish or French or German, every noun has to be in a gender and the gender is reified in some way. How they stress loanwords. Not how they stress loanwords, how they gender loanwords, especially on the fly loanwords. Not ones that are like very well established and obviously a part of the language. It's something that has always intrigued me. For example, there was once where I was in line at Best Buy and I overheard a family talking in Spanish, and they were talking about televisions, and like the the mother referred to la big screen, and I was like, oh, yeah, but why? Why la big screen? Why not el big screen? And there's a number of things you could jump to say why was this assignment made. One is it could be it was standing in for, la big screen, televisión. Televisión is definitely feminine. If it was just screen, pantalla is feminine, sure. If it was phonology, if it's going to end in N like that, it should probably be masculine. And so there are two questions. One, what led to the assignment? Is there a hypothesis for why one assignment was made or the other? And two, is it consistent across speakers? Or would other speakers say el big screen, Things like that. That's something. And then, of course, then that is just Spanish. Then there's also like language to language that has other genders with these just immediately borrowed in on the fly terms, and maybe from languages with and without gender. So obviously borrowing from English, that doesn't mean anything. What if they're borrowing something on the fly from Italian that either was feminine in Spanish or sounds like it should be feminine, that type of thing. Anyway.
And since the linguist is saying in Italian that they feel like it's kind of similar. Except they would go more masculine, perhaps, with a lot of borrowed words. But yeah, if it was intended to say big screen TV and just left out the TV, then it would have been potentially either.
Yeah, and it's the type of thing, it might have a simple answer, but it's like it's the type of thing, bless you, that I think a lot of speakers of languages with gender can give anecdotal responses to, based on either what they've done or what they've heard others do. But it's just the type of thing you'd like to see it actually done with like a real study to say, okay, is this actually a thing or not?
And I will say one difficulty of such a study, as there are difficulties with many studies of similar kind of style, it's hard to elicit that information without sort of planting.
Without biasing, yeah.
And also with a lot of the IRB, the Institutional Research Board approval you have to go through. You have to be really explicit in what you're studying, and sometimes telling people what you're studying automatically makes them think about it. And therefore you're kind of ruining your results because you're not getting something that really is just flowing with natural conversation. And that to me is really awful, because it's like, I hate that you have to tell people, well, this is what I'm studying and what I'm going to do with it. I get that they don't want us doing bad things with people's words and making it awful, but at the same time, if you tell them you're looking for what gendered articles they use with borrowed words, suddenly they're going to be thinking about it, and that automatically takes away the sort of naturalness that would otherwise be there, and they may do something different than they would have done if you had just followed them around with a tape recorder, LaBeouf style, and that is no longer approved.
Yeah, it's like if you're going to set up an experiment like that, the difficult part is essentially setting up the experiment and making sure that it's done right. You could also do it another way, which is like, for example, I sat in at Colorado Boulder. It was the linguist there. He had taken hours and hours and hours of transcription of Spanish language radio broadcasts here in Southern California. And so you could turn it into a corpus analysis. You just go through and tag it, and just like every time they use like an English word or something with an article, you just go through hours and hours and hours of it and see like, okay, should this one be in or not? You make an argument for this one should count, this one shouldn't count, and so on and so forth. And so there, the difficulty is just finding the corpora and then going through it and painstakingly and correctly detailing every single instance of it. One of two ways to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway. Apparently there are rules in German for how you gender borrowings. Well, that's...
I almost quoted something that's not published.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep. All right. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Back to it. Back to some Lang timing. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think you're about to tell us about a poll.
Yep. So we were looking at comparison. I just love it. Every so often I look. It's like 17 minutes in. And I think that was the time that everybody mentioned that we usually start getting to the poll. 17
I want to point out we have spent these 17 minutes talking about language.
That's true.
That is, I believe, unusual for the first 17 minutes of our show.
There you go.
Go on.
All right. So this poll, we were looking about how to do comparison. As you know, previously we decided in a poll that we were going to have native adjectives in this language, which is something that we hadn't done in previous languages much. But we were going to have native adjectives. We figured out exactly how they were going to work. So adjectives themselves cannot be inflected. So anytime we have an adjective in a position where it must be in the partitive case, they become immediately derived into nouns to the extent that the little nominalization prefix can almost be thought of as inflection for adjectives, even though it's derivation elsewhere.
Yeah.
All right. And, right. No, it's fine. And so, anyway, then the question was, all right, how are we going to do comparison? We came up with 4 possible strategies. And the first one I really want to go over because, as I think I mentioned before, I was giving a lot more thought to this ever since reading the section in Jesse's book on comparison. And it turns out not having comparison at all is quite common, super common. And it's got to be strange to speakers of languages with comparison like English, but it's like there are scenarios where you would translate it with a comparative in English, but in the language itself, there really, really is nothing. And so I gave an example of what that might be like. And so you might say like this is, Saleh matna, the beaver is tall, al mat ona, and the oak is very tall. And that's it. And the interpretation would be that the oak is taller than the beaver, but it's not like this is a regular construction where you say like, this is how you do comparison. It's just, if you had to do that, then that's how you would do it. As a reminder, we have this word that we created at the very end of last stream, O. Its protoform is just AU. And it means in the oldest stage, big. Mm-hmm. And we're going to use it in some way. It's going to factor into our comparative strategy. Anyway, so in this one, it just means very. And we'll have a new word that means big. So that was option A, no comparison at all. Option B was comparison via postposition. And so this one, B and C look very similar. So if you were voting, I hope you read the descriptions there. And if you were a Matthijs, I just hope that you were a Matthijs. Salute. Yes. Anyway, so this one, there's no comparison. And there's no comparative construction per se. It's just that there is an interpretation of comparison if you introduce, what is the term that you used in your book for this?
Well,
the than.
Oh, that part is the standard of comparison.
The standard of comparison. Okay. So we have a postposition that serves as the standard of comparison. And if you introduce it, then the interpretation is comparison. So we have this sentence, al mat ona, the oak is very tall. But al mat o saleh, and then something that comes from fel, na, means that the oak is taller than the beaver. And I wanted to explain that. Jesse had previously come up with this etymology that we really love for this this postposition that means than, Than. And it comes from fell, as in felling a tree, right? And so that's where this comes from. And so because you use that with an adjective, the interpretation is the oak is taller than the beaver. All right. And I want to look at what Biblaridian has said here.
Because it's really cool, so read it out.
Okay, in Nahuatl, you can use the negative adverb to form comparatives. The tree is tall, not the man. And that is interpreted as the tree is taller than the man.
That's cool.
That is very cool. It's one of the other odd uses of the negative that we've seen, which the other ones being comparative. Or not comparative, simulative.
Simulative. And I finally was able to use that in a language because that's something we had talked about in season 1.
Yeah.
And so in Juari, I actually used it.
Nice.
And I was very excited.
And so that one is where you say, like, you know, the boy, not a wolf, ate the candy. And by using not a wolf, the implication is supposed to be, no, it was actually a boy, it wasn't a wolf, even though you'd think it was a wolf based on how much he ate that candy. In other words, the boy ate the candy like a wolf. So that's also just the only thing in there is negation. And so that's pretty cool.
I think the example we used in season 1 to explain it, because we had thought about using it in Ingala, was the bunny, not a cannonball, broke through the stump. And so, yes, I think that it was something like that.
Nice. All right, so on to option C. The sentences are the same. The second one, the interpretation is the same. The oak is taller than the beaver, and that is oak tall very, beaver fell is. However, the interpretation for the first sentence is different. It's not just the oak is very tall. The interpretation is actually comparison. And so you'd say the oak is taller, or the interpretation might be the oak is the tallest. Yeah. In other words, with no standard of comparison, that might be what you come away with. And so it's not like the sentences are different. The interpretation is different. And presumably for C, we would have some other word that meant very. All right. And then for D, we came up with a way that this O could become a suffix. And so that it would actually appear as an inflection on the adjective. So almatona, the oak is taller. Almato salefena, the oak is taller than the beaver. And then we have this other one. The beaver is giving the taller grass to the frog. Saleo da su matomo bunga ing. That should be bungang be na. That's right. And this one was important because I wanted you all to see that the mo causes odasu to be in the partitive, but there's no partitive inflection for the adjective. It's still just on its own there.
I think I have a package.
Oh, okay. You all missed the regular mail. Very sorry that you don't get that intrusion. All right, so those are the options, and I forgot to refresh the page and also forgot to look up the poll results. I think I know which one the winner is, but I'm just going to...
Oh, you didn't refresh it as you were scrolling? So you didn't give away answers, perhaps?
No.
I am, though, going to jump up and turn on lights. It is just dark enough in our corner that my eyes are having to work a little extra.
Holy smoke.
And I don't want to have to work extra with my eyes.
Well, I feel pretty good that every option got votes.
Yay! So we came up with... And
that's nice.
And it didn't ruin it that, if you recall at the end of the last stream, I was like, well, we need to create a word for it so that way patrons can see it in action and it makes it feel more real. And then as soon as the stream ended, I went and came up with a strategy that we didn't have a word for. And so we were back to using just something for fell.
Yeah. So the way I am interpreting these results, I think A and D are tied at the bottom. They both have votes, but we're not doing no comparison at all, and we're not doing the suffix. So this came down to B and C, basically the interpretation. And this was very, very close. Winning by one vote is B. So we're going to have the comparative interpretation if there is a standard of comparison. And so that means you don't get the comparative interpretation unless you say than something, and it can be than something is very tall as than something, or it could be than everything would mean that it was the tallest.
Superlative, yeah.
But without that, it just is going to mean very, and all those things are just going to be like that. So it's pretty lightweight. It's not no comparison, but it's pretty lightweight.
I like it.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So let's set about getting all that in. So that is archaic. This is going to be our first adverb. It's going to mean very, a lot. Can be used. I better write. Can be used in conjunction with. To form comparative construction. See above. I'm going to link to that when we have it ready. So I think what we should do is we should create our postposition, and then we should create examples of comparison up in the grammar.
Very a lot. That's what you did. Okay.
Yeah.
I just needed to get that.
There, I'll
and that's going to be
put some others in there. Very, a lot, quite. Really.
Oh my God. Quite and really. My goodness.
Nobody can hear it.
Oh.
My. Oh gosh. Oh, they feel so good to do that. Oh my.
We have our 2 cues now.
If you missed out on Let's Have a Booba yesterday, you're in good company. I'm kidding. Poor Jake had to remind us that Let's Have a Booba was going due to all of us being engrossed in the European Football
Soccer,
Championship. Yeah. We were all watching it. Really, I wasn't very excited about it until meeting Bip Laridian, who's just an enormous soccer fan. Watches every league, still keeps stats by hand. It's honestly, it's impressive. But the thing is, like, if you're actually spending any time with Bip Laridian, like, you can't really talk to him because he's just writing in his notebook. He has an earpiece where he's listening to. He can listen to 3 soccer matches at once, so he just has all the audio spliced together. Anyway, and it's really distracting. Hard to get his attention, but it's his life. So, anyway, so there was, oh yeah.
And this is why I love Bib Laridian.
All right. So, tomorrow, Tongues and Runes. Mm-hmm. We're also going to be running a little test tomorrow if you want to jump on it too. We only need like one person, and she'll only be like 15 minutes if everything goes well. We're doing a test stream because on Sunday...
Are we testing the stream during Tongues and Runes?
No Tongues and Runes tomorrow.
No, that's why we're doing it during.
Yeah.
See, you can still get your fake live stream experience. And I say fake because ours will be fake tomorrow. It's just going to be a test. It's not going to be anything more than us saying, hey, is this working?
Yeah.
How are we all doing?
Yeah.
But we are going to be testing it. And if anyone can jump on to make sure that the audience can hear us, that would greatly help us prepare for Sunday for the real event.
I'll just say that Tongues and Runes is usually Friday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Anyway, But yeah, Sunday, first episode of Conlang Conflict, our Family Feud style game show. Extremely experimental. We will see how it works. It's going to be Mighty Team LTS with Captain Jesse.
Yes, and my trusty teammates who are going to carry me, Bibleridian and Artifexian.
And they will be taking on Team Let's Have a Booba with Captain Jake and Subordinate Miles and Ensign Jonathan.
Woo! Yeah, it'll be exciting, and I can't even pretend to do trash talk like they do on TV because I'm already convinced that Let's Have a Booba is gonna smash the smithereens out of the competition.
Yeah, you just gave me an idea of a, it would have to take longer, but Conlang game show where it's like, you have to create a sketch that translates this sentence, but like Cutthroat Kitchen, you can purchase sabotages, purchase this sabotage and you will not be able to use nouns.
That has to be a thing, right? Like, we've got to make this happen. That
it would take some
would
thought.
be amazing.
It would take some thought.
Or like, you get this axe and you get to cut out 5 phonemes from their sound inventory.
Yeah.
Something like that. That could be something after we figure out if this works. Next summer we could work up into another special competition.
Crime Scene Kitchen always sounded fun. I haven't seen it yet.
I have not seen it yet either, but I think that does sound fun. Yeah, a speed linging challenge, but with sabotage.
Yeah, easy one, and one that's always, it's so simple yet so destructive. On Cutthroat Kitchen, it's just, you just say like, one of you has to stand there and do nothing for 5 minutes.
Right? Yeah, and that's definitely one we could put into the Conlang challenge. And that would be, so horrifying. And I would imagine there would only be one round because you would need to show the whole 30 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
So like trying to do 3 rounds in a row may end up being a bit much. But anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Sunday at 12 p.m. Pacific. I hope you can join us. Also for patrons, our patron live stream is this Saturday at 1 p.m., which means that we are streaming today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. I think I made a mistake.
I think you did too. I'm just going to be honest.
I'm really sorry. At the very least, I could have not had your team go on Sunday.
But here we are. And in between now and then, David, you may not remember this, but I'm very aware of it. We're recording a podcast episode to be released on the 1st. Oh. And so we are going to be busy beavers between now and then.
Is it all going to be done with bird squawks?
Listen, we are doing something that is going to be a 2-part podcast episode. So it's going to be 2 podcasts. We're only going to do the first part, obviously.
Oh, that's right. I know.
And it is a challenge, so everyone be ready. You can join in. So listen to the podcast as soon as it drops on the 1st. And it's going to be based on an idea that somebody at a talk that we were giving in London just did a follow-up question and said, hey, have you ever done this? And both David and I went, no, we haven't. We're going to do that, and you're going to find out what that is, and you'll find out what Meatloaf will never do. little song drop there in our podcast. Okay.
So this Hub is doing a challenge next month.
Oh, nice.
Don't know what it is or how they plan to reveal it, but let's have a booba. The challenge. July
will begin. Right. I bet a Kiki will be introduced.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to figure out what to do with it. Kiki. All right, David. Yeah. Let's actually talk about Fell.
Yeah. All right. Oh, all shall be revealed in due course. Ooh.
Next month is coming up soon. That's next week.
And that's from Jake. The have and let's have a booba.
Oh, I do want hand raise.
Okay.
Attention.
Yeah.
Next Thursday is July 4th, and I believe we are not streaming on July 4th. Am I correct in saying that on air right now?
It's up to you.
We are not streaming on July 4th.
Okay. Very sorry. I'll adjust to the schedule accordingly.
And sorry to the rest of the world who has nothing going on July 4th, but I have a feeling a lot of people on this side of the pond may have things going on, and we have friends to hang out with. So
Yeah. Speaking of which, we, if you want to do something, you could. I just had an idea for the most
That's right.
expensive,
They have something more important in England. Go on.
dangerous, and difficult language, which is a language that is where the tokens are fireworks. There's certainly enough variety there.
That's insanity.
Be very expensive, very dangerous, very impractical. Could be done though.
We thought we saw a firework the other day, and it turned out it was actually a Starlink satellite being launched.
Yeah.
So we saw a rocket launch go right over our house.
Mm-hmm.
Satellite rocket launch, not like, there were no humans aboard.
Exploding jelly bee language. Pop rocks. Could have done pop rocks.
Done and done. Okay, for safety reasons, you're right. You're right. The Minecraft fireworks. There we go.
They probably don't have as much variety with fireworks, but yeah, it could be a start.
It's something to work with.
Yeah. All right.
David,
so,
what are you feeling for fell?
Yeah.
What are you felling?
So regarding this,
Nothing.
just as a reminder, so Jesse came up with the idea for using fell as a postposition to mean than. Were there other meanings? Was it like over or was it just than?
Yeah, so I feel like we could do more meanings with it. But it was effectively going to break down in its original interpretation of being like the oak is very tall, felling the beaver. In other words, it like knocked down the competition, right? Like it felled. And so
Really
if
does.
something is felled, then when you're standing next to it, you're over it. So I do see where it could become over or beyond.
Or against.
Or against even,
Yeah, like
perhaps.
like contra. In that sense, not like leaning against, but like,
And so, and that was one that then we had talked about where, it's like obviously for a beaver language, it makes sense to have a verb that's just a basic root, meaning, to fell.
Yeah.
And specifically, it would be applied, I would think, like as a verb in its basic root, it would be applied to trees. And it's like, 'cause I don't know that we fell anything other than trees in English either.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was where the idea came from.
Yeah, and it could mean like it could also be used to mean like defeating, conquering, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, and then so we want to come up with a phonological form that is either going to be it's going to be reducible to a postposition that is at least somewhat different from the verbal form, or it's identical and we end up reduplicating the verb to get the modern verb, or do something else to it. But yeah, since it's a beaver language, I feel very good about having this being a root as opposed to some sort of derivation.
And so effectively what we're looking at then with these two different options is we could have a 2-syllable root for fell that then gets reduced, or a 1-syllable root that gets reduplicated.
Are you going to that list?
I am, just to see what we have.
Yeah, let's join you
so
there.
on page 12, couvre-moi becomes couvre-me. Couvre-me, I think is the...
Kufma.
Pixa stays, Dapa stays, and Litsa stays. So those are some roots that we had, remember, like we had listed based on past suggestions that didn't end up getting incorporated. And so we wanted to keep them on hand. And I could see, I could honestly see several of these changing quite dramatically if we did a reduction.
Yeah, I something that jumps out to me and is quite attractive is dapa and then using just da.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because that's the stressed element. You know that we get a lot of stress at the end. So this is actually guvme, biksa, no, guvme, biksa, tapa, litsa, because of how the stress works.
So even though we get a lot of stress at the end, effectively 3 of the 4 are initial stress in these particular forms because we have heavy syllables.
I loved this kind of the idea of this da coming right at the end of it, um, because it's like because the vowel is long and lingers a little bit. It's like I don't know. It feels like it has the very slightest level of oppression that you might want for this type.
I also like that it's a double screw.
Yeah. Oh.
Because tapa, you get top in there and top over. But also tapa sounds a little bit like topple. You topple something. And so it's a double screw that David picked out because he liked the pattern.
Oh my gosh. All right, we're doing it. We're doing it. All right. So, and that's different enough. We're going to keep that verb a nice one to stay. Oh, this is interesting.
A fell as a noun can also be the stitched down portion of a kilt.
So,
did we already have ta?
We already had ta.
I got to look at it. What was that? Oh, to put to place. Oh, well, we could get all sorts of fun little folk etymologies then.
Yeah. I think that's just like dape, yep. Or dape. Dapa. Okay, fell.
What? Okay.
Hang on.
Oh, it's a flat fell is the full term that you can use, or just fell for the edge of a seam to stitch down so it lies flat.
I want you to.
So it's a flat felled seam.
I want you to see what I'm about to do.
Specifically to. Oh my gosh, David, you're amazing. Oh, a fell is apparently also a hill or a stretch of high moorland, especially in northern England. And as an adjective, it is of terrible evil or ferocity, deadly. Sorcerers use spells to achieve their fell ends.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it can also be an animal's hide or a skin with its hair. I didn't know that. We say pelt much more frequently. So I guess we borrowed pelt from Latin, even though we already had fell, which came from the same root.
Pelt from Latin peltus, I assume.
It's from French, diminutive pellet, meaning skin. So diminutive of pale skin, which is from pellis, skin in Latin. And again, that's the same. So we have double cognate situation here because fell is a native English word that came from the same root that gave Latin pellis, and then we borrowed pelt even though we already had fell.
Nice. Wonderful.
Okay.
All right, we're sticking with that, and we're sticking with this.
Dapa is fell. Oh, and Tappy is saying you can also have false fell seams. And I'm now wondering, does that mean that they really don't lie flat? They just make you think they do. And then when you put the outfit on, all the seams go whoop, and they go into open flat position?
what do we call this? What is than in English?
It's a preposition.
Meaning like a what preposition? Do you call it a comparative preposition?
Yeah.
You do, comparative.
Let me see what they list here to see if they say anything about it other than preposition. I mean, also it's apart from or except. Like it also means that in English, like other than his home. But yeah,
conjunction used to compare.
No, well, conjunction is when it's followed by a full clause. The preposition is, the comparison. So like the example here, they go out less than they did when they first moved to Paris. That is considered a conjunction. But he is taller than John is considered a preposition.
This is incredible, by the way, this usage notes. Usage prescriptivists have a number of rules concerning than. I love how it just treats them like this. A sect, essentially.
Yeah.
According to them, than is not a preposition to govern the oblique case.
Oh, nice, Tabby. Thank you for explaining. That sounds incredibly complicated. To do a full felled seam, because that seems like a lot could go wrong. Seems. But yeah, it feels like a lot could go wrong if you're trying to get the folded down while you're doing the seaming. So that's really interesting. Okay, so were you just like trying to figure out how to write about it in the dictionary?
Yeah, I was just wanted to know if I'm supposed to say it's a comparative preposition or whatever. Postposition.
It introduces the second element in or introduces the standard of comparison.
I think I'm going to put that right here, and I'm going to introduce these as secondary definitions. Call this I don't know if this is a real word. What do they call against? I don't know if it has a term. They don't actually list terms here.
I was going to say most English dictionaries are not going to list terms because they're not.
All right.
It's not necessarily.
The againstative is very good. Bagpipes. I'm sorry, magpipes.
Oh, I don't have my notebook over here. I hope we don't need anything written down.
Yeah, I've got one. I've got one. I'll let you write it up.
That is in our marriage contract.
Yep.
We have to share notebooks when the other person does not have their notebook.
I assumed a lot of things before signing that marriage contract. Yeah, Jesse technically owns everything that I own, but I don't have any access to anything that she owns, except, and this is very strange, I am allowed to use one of her backpacks for 2 hours once a month.
Once a month?
Yeah.
That seems like a lot.
It's in the contract. Yeah, I don't know about rollover. In other words, if I don't use it 1 month, if that rolls over to the next month.
See, that wouldn't be believable. What may be believable is that you have to request entry into the kitchen before I allow you to set foot. That would be believable.
Yeah.
The kitchen is my happy zone.
Yeah. I've commented, and I think it is quite true, that our kitchen is such a size that being in there and trying to do things at the same time really rather closely resembles Overcooked.
It does, yeah.
There are times where it's like, if I need to get something, it actually makes sense to run all the way around and go in the hallway and come in the other side because
there's not space. Or there are times he has to open the fridge from like a weird angle to like reach over the door because otherwise he can't get at it. Just because if I'm in there chopping, sorry.
I'm like, can you imagine if this was actually a stage of Overcooked? Because presumably the chopping station would be here.
Yeah.
The place to wash dishes would be here. And then the stove would be here. That would, like, you'd really...
Just run into each other. That's yeah, it's quite a thing. So no, there are literally times that we do have to coordinate who's going to be in the kitchen when. It's like, all right, you can come in that half, but you can't come over here.
Yeah.
And then days that I do the big meals, those days I just shut the little blockade off and say you don't come in the kitchen this way, because I've got a knife moving. I don't want to worry about things.
All right, let me add the superscripts here. That's very important.
Yay!
There we
I
go.
love superscripts.
There we go. Anyway,
Oh, are you just doing our new word over and over again? Da, da, da,
I
da,
think
da,
that's
da.
10, but let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Indeed.
Oh, that was a little yawn on my part. Hey, I think we should celebrate.
All right. Before we do...
Listen. We got a fell,
All right.
and now we get to gnaw.
Dun, 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 dun. Celebrate with Copico.
You mean celebrate? And now you all know why he married me. Get the celebration.
You're lucky we're on camera right now.
I was gonna high five you with. I was waiting. Cheers.
That's right. I forgot. We usually do that first.
There we go.
Dink.
Cheers.
Copico mint.
It's only 77.
Oh my goodness. Copico, when it is a sweltering 77 degrees in your place of life, how do you even exist?
You see Miles though? It's a Copico mint. I love it. There's a Copico mint. Got to get my stress. God, man.
Copic achievement?
Oh. I am having some like allergy issues in my eye. And so if you see me randomly start tearing up and crying, I promise you I am absolutely fine. Except for the fact that there's something in the air this past week that is making everything on high alert.
Instigator, because there's something in the air. Something that I have to tell you, and this is a moment of truth if we can break through the fiction of LTS, that I still think about a lot, and really both puzzles and hurts me is that Mr. Bibbleridian himself is just like, he's just taking a pass on music. And I'm not talking about like certain styles of music, just music. He's like, I could do without people before music. It's like, to me, it's the only thing that needs to exist in order for me to exist. Without that, goodness gracious. And Bibbleridian is just like, fine.
It is true. Just noise.
Oh.
David's soul is broken right now.
Like, I can at least understand those kind of modern snobs who are like, I only listen to, classical compositions between 1773 and 1809. It's like, fine. But, I think about it a lot. I feel a little bit like I feel like a little bit like a teenage girl in 80s sitcoms, thinking I can change him. I can teach him the beauty of music. But it's a fool's errand. He'll always be there on his motorbike, with somebody else who just, I don't know, has earmuffs on at all times. Miles, we all tried to marry Shane and Stardew, I heard. Let me tell you.
So I actually had a friend who married Shane and Stardew and got so mad that he didn't actually change that she divorced him. But accidentally divorced him before getting the blue chicken. And was like, well, never getting the blue eggs now.
Yeah. Speaking of Stardew residents, it just seems like it's so easy to marry Alex. All I gotta do is just listen to him ramble about football, and watch him do skateboard moves, and he's like, "Wow, you're cool." Terrible. Jesse's doing some work here.
I don't remember the verb form that we need to have here.
Nah.
That's what I thought. NAA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I put it in the right order?
Hold on a sec. I may have confused him. Which one, Alex or Sam? Which one is the kid with the spiky yellow hair?
That's Sam.
That's Sam. All right. Which one is Alex?
The football.
They're different?
Yeah, Sam is the one who likes the Jojo Cola and who's on a skateboard all the time playing video games. And then Alex is the one who stands by the dog kennel. His grandparents, George and Evelyn, he lives with them, and he always asks, like, do you think I could be a pro football player? And, yeah.
These aren't the same person?
They're totally different.
Oh, my God.
And Alex has, like, brown hair.
They're basically the same thing. I didn't realize they were different people.
Thank you, Miles. Thank you. I'm ashamed that David is sitting here unable to say anything about my beloved Stardew Valley, even though he has almost played an entire year's worth of Stardew Valley days.
Gotten all the way through the mine. Beat it. My sister, to give you an indication of the type of personality she is, she sat there, played for hours, days, weeks, and she beat Junimo Kart. Most people, if they get the Junimo Kart machine and play it once, they're like, this is stupid, and never play it again. And they're right. My sister got all the way through the whole thing. They even both go to the same side of the map when they're working. Terrible. By the way, the biggest mismatch, I think, between appearance and personality, in my opinion, is the Fabio guy. What's his name? The long hair. Sebastian?
No, Sebastian is the one who smokes and lives up north and is the stepson of Demetrius, but the son of Robin.
Oh, yeah. Okay, which one's Elliot? Thank you.
Elliot is the Fabian.
Well.
Fabio.
Logan Kersley has arrived. Do 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 do. Man, Jesse's just doing stuff. This is great. I'm gonna just... What?
Well, the very tall oak doesn't have to be an actual comparative.
It does not, but it goes
Oh,
here.
I asked you if I put everything in the right order, and you were like, yes. Now you gotta change. I behind. It is I behind.
Sorry, it's that's the correct. Not even as a joke. Oh no. If it's behind is be hidden is a little bit like behind, except that you can't see it. Something that apparently Meridian and I did 3 times that Jesse didn't realize was a thing is that every single character of ours has the trash can hat. And we all wear the trash can hat.
I went back in and found out that some of mine had the trash can hat. It's just I never wore it or used it, and so I just didn't care about it. And so when you guys made a big deal out of it, I was like, oh, I don't know that I remember that. And then it turns out I do actually have it.
Oh man. Oh, here with oh dear.
Ah!
Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think? Oh, now if we have...
Oh. Okay, so this is an open question, actually.
Did the one that win, was it that this would actually be the taller oak?
No.
No, that didn't win.
No, it
So
didn't.
this is, which is why I didn't say it was comparative. It was a degree.
So
Because it's a degree adverb saying it's very tall.
in the examples that I had written, it was this. I do understand that it doesn't need to be. Because you're right. That should be all that is necessary. So let me just.
Well, Miles, I never bother using sprinklers for real. Like I'll put 1 or 2 out if I just get them. But it's when I get the greenhouse that I end up putting sprinklers in, so I don't have to remember to water things in the greenhouse. And then I put all the fruit trees around the edge of the greenhouse so that way I can always have fruit year round. And yeah, I love getting that greenhouse set up. The crops outside, I try to keep tidy in boxes, but boy, that greenhouse is like, I've got it down to an art. I love growing cranberries in there. Oh, it's good stuff.
Man,
And coffee. Got to have the coffee beans.
So there was one game where I was primarily playing and Meridian was watching, and then we realized that 2 people could play at the same time, and so on the same farm. So we started a game like that, and I was like, this time I'm going to do everything right. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to get my sprinklers and set them up, and then I learned, I was like, why isn't this working? Apparently, if you use a beach farm, you can't use sprinklers at all.
Because the sand won't take it. Until in your greenhouse you can.
Oh, great. But like, and so it's like you can sprinkle as much salt water on your plants as you want, apparently. But sprinklers, that's just right out.
Yeah, I never struggled with that just because I really do like water all my own stuff anyway. So it's like I really, the sprinklers are great for the, or if I have like a bee house thing, I'll put a sprinkler by that so that way the flowers will just grow for the whole season,
really
so
nice.
I don't have to worry about it.
It's really nice. Did that in the other game, can't do it in this one. But like also with a level of farmage that we have,
Patrick's
like
is making a point.
I go through and water all the plants, right? And then it's like, well, I guess I better go to bed. It's 9 in the morning, but I'm out of energy. So like,
And Jake wants to know if there's a way we could get a to mat. Oh. And I don't think so. Not unless we have an ox. I don't know what the toe would be. The toe would have to be the noun, but then what's the a? Now, if you're asking, can we get a tomato? I bet we could. No, we couldn't. Because it would have to be the partitive form. And is there a partitive that would end in O? It's either U or E, right?
no, there's part of form that ends in O.
Okay.
It's anything that ends in an A.
Okay, so TA would become to in the partitive.
Yeah.
We would have to have ta. But I don't think. Okay, just tomato. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We could get a very tall toe,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think Jake wants to make that happen. What do we want a tau to be?
Well, we're kind of running out of options here because
We have ta.
we already have a protoform TAA.
And so this would end up having to be just TA, ta.
Yeah, it would have to be just TA.
So
Bottom of the teeth.
it's very tall.
Uh,
Then you get the very tall teeth.
I do want to just write.
And then you could have the
this.
great tooth eater versus the tall teeth in the beaver language. Galbiniki versus tomato.
I have a story I want to mention in a second, but I want to write this.
I'll allow it.
It is possible to use the emphatic O in a comparative construction. It is not required, but it is nice, one would like to think. An example is provided below. All right. That just at least makes me feel better.
I also like if we want to go ahead and make a word for everything.
Yeah.
We can pop that in as like the
We
superlative is formed.
We can. It's extremely difficult. I don't know if we're going to
Sure.
be able to do that at this point. So there was an illustrated book. This was a book intended for kids of spooky stories or ghost stories. And this was like either late 80s, early 90s. But one of the stories was just, this kid goes away from his parents and they're like, don't go to the city by yourself. And he goes to the city and he goes down an alley. And there's like this guy and he's like, hey, you want to check out my teeth? They're really big. And he like, because he can't see him, and then he like shows him his teeth, and his teeth are very large. And then he like runs away down the other side of the alley and runs into another guy. And he's like, oh, you think those teeth are big? These are even bigger. And he, again, same thing. He shows his teeth, and his teeth are even bigger. And then he goes to another guy, and it's the same thing, and his teeth are even bigger. And then this comes to this other guy. He says, like, those aren't teeth. These are the largest teeth of all. And then he shows you his face, and his teeth are really enormous. And then the kid runs away and runs back home. And that's the end of the story. It's a bizarre story structure. It just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and then it ends.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
Cool story.
Yeah.
Do we have any zero derivation in this language?
I don't know.
Is that something you'd be interested in?
I don't know.
Because I'm just going to throw something at you.
Okay.
Just think about it. We have ta, meaning to put to place.
Mm-hmm.
If we had any zero derivation and ta became used to be a noun of like generic like place, it's a place where you put something. It's an area. It's a place.
Yeah. Specific.
Then we could have a tall place, a very tall place. Could be tomato because TAAU would get reduced to AU, which gets reduced to O, right?
Yeah. Let's go ahead. So that would be and then
Jake wants to know if your parents were trying to make you feel better. this horrific story. Like,
No, that's funny. Um, no, it was just in an illustrated book. It also had an illustrated version of like the boy who's interested in a girl and tells him not to take the ribbon off of her neck. You know that one.
oh, well, for sure. But that one actually has an ending.
It does. No, that's
And that
why.
one has like a point.
No, I know. That's why the first one was like so strange to me and stuck in my head. It's like this story just keeps building and building and building and then just ends. Doesn't go anywhere. Nothing happens. It's the exact type of story structure that, in writing classes they tell you that you can't do because stories don't do this. Which of course is not true. Everything they tell you is false. And you can do it. Just needs to be interesting.
Oh, Magpie, scary
No.
stories to tell in the dark?
Not that
Oh,
one,
okay.
because that one was straight up terrifying. These were like very cartoony color images. So yeah, that's the one.
In a dark, dark room?
Yeah, the one that Magpie is talking about, that one that had very realistic kind of black and white illustrations, and it was straight up terrifying. I didn't want to ever hear any of them, and I was forced to listen to two of them in third grade, and it gave me nightmares for the next 7.5 years. You know those?
I don't know. Like I'm going to.
Those were awful.
Well, you and I have different levels of ability to handle.
But yeah, see this is very cartoonish, very cartoonish. You know.
I must have read this one because I remember. Well, this is green. I thought it was yellow ribbon.
Now
And then
it's
here's
green.
the teeth.
There's the teeth.
Um,
Oh, he's just going home. Oh, Patrick, go away. I'm gonna put you in timeout for a moment.
huh.
They weren't humdrum at all.
The Night It Rained sounds interesting. Yeah, I think I must have read these because like some of these
Oh,
sound very familiar.
that one, The Ghost of John, that was a song that there was a song that went with it, and we learned that song in music. So I still know how that one goes.
Okay, so now I'm looking at this one. I love that it is a series of short horror stories for children.
Yeah.
It apparently was also made into a movie.
It was, yeah. I remember hearing about that. I think you. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we can keep going. I was just looking these up because it's like I feel like I probably read at least the one that you had read. This one I feel like I may have read, but like
I only know two stories from this one. Those were the two that were told because I wouldn't even touch or look at the book. Honestly, looking at the cover of one of these books would give me a rough night. Something I just don't enjoy is horror at all. I don't understand it. The point is to scare you, and then it's like, why? Why would you like that? That's a bad feeling. All right. Now, place, spot, area.
spot is good.
A specific area where something is put.
Right. Cool. So now we have tomato.
There you go.
It's a tall place that you put something.
Yeah,
But we can get tomato.
that's good.
Tomato.
This, by the way, could be this could be a beaver horror film. A very tall place.
Tomato. Okay.
No. Hmm. Okay, let me add that. All right. Well, we've made some really good progress.
I need to clean these. Look over to the side and I got all this like smudge and
You
I
want-
can't see.
You want to trade glasses for the rest of the stream?
No.
Why not?
I can't see anything out of yours.
They're the same prescription.
No, they're not.
Also, we have pretty much the same vision.
We so do not, but like David's eyes don't care what modifications are placed over his eyes. It's just like, oh, cool, I can see. And for me, I'm very sensitive. Like if you even change a level in my prescription, it'll take me several days to get used to it and lots of headaches, like literal migraine type headaches. And David's just like, whatevs. They're on, they're off. I don't care if I can see. I can't do that.
I mean, if you have to read stuff or look at fine details, one thing, but otherwise, it's like without my glasses on, I can't make out the details of the picture of Meridian, but I know it's there. And
yeah, but you know it's there because you know what it is.
Yeah, and I can remember what it looks like. And it's also like you can see a human form.
Sure, I can see that there's a human form in the picture.
There you go. That's great.
But like you could tell me it's a whole different person. If I didn't know the picture, I would believe you because it's just like, yeah, it's a human form.
Right, but like if you need to see it, then you just go up close or
but
you
then
put
you
on your
look at
glasses.
like that table and everything is just like I see blobs. I have no idea what's on that table.
Oh, I can see
bunch of
photograph with
blobs.
person, photograph with person.
No, it's all too small. It's blobby.
Standing dressy mouse. You can see it all.
Well, yeah, we do have a standing dressy mouse.
Yes, we do.
Oh my goodness, y'all! Wait till July drops and Conlang Year gets a new image. It's very exciting.
Oh yeah.
David got to see it last night. I finished it yesterday.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've actually accomplished something, and now I feel like what should we do? We talk about demonstratives.
We can talk about demonstratives. But I feel like there were a few more things we had left. Obviously, relative clauses we had not done yet.
Yeah.
Why did we put these notes in demonstratives?
I don't know.
That's very interesting. Anyway, so we also have not done coordination. I know that was like bottom of your interest poll, or bottom of your I like to tackle this next poll. But we do have relative clauses and we do have questions, like all the questions, even yes, no, all the WH words. And so we've got so many things we could choose to tackle next, or at least set us up. Like if we at least choose what we want to tackle next, we can then start setting up what will be a poll. We can start thinking through options, or if we get through and we have lots of ideas, we can, start dreaming up other poll options. And so
literally every single day, awkward ale. That's how the Conlang year works. Anyway, if we run out of ideas, we can always do the orthography poll for what type of orthography to do.
Goodness. So not ready.
Oh, that's all right.
No orthography. These beavers don't write. They see no point.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
on
Patrick.
Patrick.
And you know what's funny is that it's actually borderline today, so it's only going to be about 80 degrees today. So we were going to have the windows open, but the lawn mowers were going outside, and we realized that the AC was going to actually end up being quieter than the really loud lawn mowers. And so as soon as the stream is over, we're actually going to open up the house and turn the AC off.
Hmm.
But we felt this was a better option. No, it's our white noise. Sorry about that. Oh, do we could also work on more derivations. So,
Yeah.
you know, we do have a word for place now, but that's generic, like a spot to put something. That may not mean a location for X. You know, like a to dance, and then a stage might be a dancing place, like that. That may not be the right place.
Hmm. You're right. Because it's a spot where something is put.
Versus like, you know, the meadow in the forest is a place.
Hmm.
It's a location. It's an area.
By the way, this
We
is
don't have a locative, right? Like an adposition that's like locative, like in.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm just want to mention that my entire day is thrown off because I've used lotion over at my parents' house and I hate it. I hate
Does
it.
it smell funny? Does it feel funny?
It smells awful. It does feel a little funny, but like I don't know how you can stand to be next to me.
I literally cannot smell anything.
Thank goodness.
It's on your arms?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Let's take a look at a real beaver dam. See if there's a.
I feel like beavers would be some of the first to have writing in our world. You're right. They're little engineers. They're thinkers.
I think this is good. Tearing down a beaver dam? Why would you?
Well, it can actually get in the way of natural water flow, and it can actually pull water then from other areas that need it. So, like, it does do some damage when there's an overpopulation of beavers in an area. It can actually block water completely from an area, therefore making, you know, like, people have less water to drink, and then also, like, just like there's less, like, fish can't get through, they die, etc.
What would you rather have, fish or a beaver?
I think that fish taste better than beavers.
No.
So if you want to go eating all the beavers, I guess.
No, I don't want to eat them. They're just our little friends. Anyway,
But-
so I want to take you from left to right here. You can see the dam right here, raised water level, and then our little beaver friend, see, taking his friendly stick. This is their food store, apparently. I don't understand how. I'm kind of interested. You can see the entrance to the beaver lodge, and then this little area. Oh, it has a ventilation shaft. That's actually kind of nice. And then there's an exit out the other side. I love this artwork. This is 8-bit, and it's just gorgeous.
So that food store
Yes.
is actually like their version of a refrigerator.
Okay.
And so they take plants and things and put it down there, and it stays cool because it's got the mud and the lower, like further down in the water, so it stays cooler.
But isn't it like...
And it's effectively refrigerated, so
Well,
they can
look
eat
at
it.
this.
So they can eat it all winter.
But like, isn't it just wet?
They don't care about that.
All right, but this is pretty cute. Look at this beaver grocery store since 1941 on Highway 101. My goodness. All right. It's another picture of the food cache. Oh my.
Yeah, it's actually a full winter supply. It consists of 1,500 to 2,500 pounds of edible bark, twigs, and leaves.
Oh.
They, per day, consume 2.2 pounds of food in the winter.
Look at that. And look at this. Look at that cute little beaver. So this one evidently only has one entrance. It's actually on the bank. It doesn't show the ventilation shaft. Look at this ice covering.
Well, yeah, in cold weather.
Wow. How do they get out?
Don't they kind of hibernate in the sense that they don't need to go out? That's why they have their food cache.
Yeah,
So they don't have to like go out and find stuff.
Huh.
Oh my goodness. Exactly, Patrick. You just peel it.
I'm going to read this out. Jake, I once won a competition to see who could get a slice of white bread to avoid mold the longest by submerging it in oil.
So Jake's process was to submerge it in oil, and the competition was to see who could get a slice of bread to last the longest with no mold. It would be like a school science project or something, right? Like, Jake, that would have been what it was for? Or was it just like you and your friends were like, no, I bet I can get this white bread to last longer? I feel like David would do that when he was a kid. Like, wait, I'm going to eat this slice of white bread in a month. And then you put it in oil and then eat it a month later.
The type of competitions that my friends and I had, I'm going to implicate Scott Yarborough here, is we went to the beach and took an actual football, and one person would have to stand perfectly still. The other would take a running start and throw the football as hard as they could at the other person's crotch. If they missed, it was the other person's turn. If the other person flinched, then you kept going. Yeah.
I don't understand.
So
you and your friends.
Those were the type of competitions that I engaged with as a younger person.
You're not going to tell the rock throwing story.
That was a mistake. I think both Blaine and I recognized that was a mistake. We should not have done that.
Anyway, yeah, so Jake says it was a science project. And Jake, I think you're all the better for it that you avoided footballs and apparently this kind of competition that I guess maybe it's actually lucky that David was able to have a child at all.
Mm-hmm. Incidentally, you need to know this was an American football, not a soccer ball. It looked like this. Quite a bit harder. Really hurt.
Harder and has a pointier end.
Yeah. Really hurt. It was definitely not pleasant.
I don't understand the concept of like.
This picture chart.
I could read horror books. Mm-hmm. You could get hit in the crotch repeatedly and think it was fun.
Yeah.
This is the difference between us.
Doesn't hurt me nowadays. The imagery that horror movies conjure up stay with you the rest of your life. And will probably come back to haunt you when you have dementia. Just saying.
Everything haunts you with dementia. It doesn't matter what you saw.
Some things are more horrifying.
Ugh. Some people don't dwell on them. Anyway.
Just wait till the dementia comes.
Are you hoping I get dementia?
No.
You're going to be the one that has to deal with it, not me, because I won't know what's going on.
Obviously not, because if I said I told you so then, you wouldn't get it.
That's the only reason he's not wishing dementia on me. Otherwise, it would be fair game.
Yeah.
Goodness. A sweet, sweet husband of mine.
Oh.
Anywho, David, where do you want to go from here?
I don't know. I just love this. I love this so much. I want like a wall poster of this.
Jonathan, are you here? If you're not here, Jonathan, just dropping your name here for no reason other than there's this image that I feel like you could do really, really well, because if the rest of you don't know, Jonathan is like a pro at taking these like making these house images with all these little details, and just think of all the little details Jonathan could add to this beaver house. And yeah, they are just absolutely spectacular with art in general. But like this kind of art, we have been delighted by the mouse houses that we have including one that I gave David for Christmas, printed out on a giant wall tapestry. So our entire wall upstairs is Jonathan's mouse house drawing. Um, and it still makes us absolutely so very happy.
Yeah.
Studying. That's right. I knew Jonathan had something to do this weekend. I just couldn't remember. But anyway, nice, Patrick.
Yeah. And I really do have to emphasize, I hope that participants in Conlang conflict aren't feeling any pressure like this. It's not the same. You can't study for this. You can't, like, I don't know. I guess your studying would be going into conlanging communities and being like, sup, what do you guys think about stuff? That's what studying is. Because, like, otherwise, like, you're guessing what other people think.
Oh, I behind your back ran a survey of 300 people to find out all their answers to your questions. And I've done calculations, been busy doing mathematical calculations for the probabilities that these answers overlap with the original answers that you received. And of course, my respondents were much more thorough than yours, and they actually answered everything.
Oh, I'm sure.
David
A lot
knew.
of the answers were,
David
what's a
knew
phoneme?
which one was mine because I answered every single one of those questions, and he's like, "Oh, this had to be you." Uh,
Oh yeah, no, there are several people where I figured it out, where
Oh,
I
man.
know that one was Jesse, I know that one was Biblaridian, and so on. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. All right. Right, Miles? No, those flashcards are not for nothing. They're so that way you have an answer ready to go, which I will not. That's as soon as you put me on a timer, my brain goes blank. And so there will be times I just stare at the camera and go, language. I can name a language. I know a language. What's the language I speak?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to see.
When people ask me, what do you think about Jake? I say 2 words: global icon. That's it.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
It sounds actually very right.
Anyway, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this. I'm literally just stalling because I am in love with this beaver picture and I just want to keep looking at it. I mean,
Miles just broke me. For $1, if I can name a language. No, I know this.
this little beaver in mid swim with it's just.
Well, don't take that page off. You can keep the image. You can like download that image, right?
I already did.
Okay.
I'm going
Okay.
to be spending a lot of time with it later. Just looking at it and wishing I could give these beavers little pets and scritches. Okay. All right. Let's talk about. Let's talk about whatever.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you.
Let's talk about things that place something in relation to something else spatially. What do we call this? Demonstratives.
Yeah.
Yes, let's talk about demonstratives. So, okay,
I
what we
just
could
want to
do.
say I adore Jake. Go on.
Yeah. Terrible. We could actually punt this to the poll and just ask what type of demonstrative distinctions do we want to draw, and then
That's true.
And then we could spend the rest of the time working on derivations, which is fun but low pressure. Come up with some more words, do things like that. Yeah.
I would love to map out the demonstrative distinctions, what we're thinking about for this language
Sure.
that we're going to pull. So that way we just have that generic template.
Yeah.
And then, I would love to get some derivations to fill out those charts so there's no more blank cells and or filler text.
Yeah.
Because I think that's always nice when we finally get rid of the filler text and it's like, this is really just all our language. That feels like a moment that we then need to celebrate, but need to celebrate it even bigger than just Copico.
Yeah. Okay, so first, we do have Something that is an option, since we have the distinction in the pronouns, is we could do singular versus plural. We don't have that in our nouns, but we could have it in our demonstratives. It might make things a little easier because we have plurality in the pronouns. We could have it in the demonstratives, and so there's multiple ways to refer to it.
That's true.
Now, Patrick's saying there, here, there, elsewhere, not present. Huh. This reminds me a whole lot of another language we're working on right now that we can't tell you about. We essentially have that.
It's very similar to that.
Yeah. Go ahead and write it down. So, proximal versus medial. Well, I'll write down a couple of different ones.
Okay.
And then
I do want to point out that we have been told, I think Logan and Bibleridian have both said something along the lines of beavers have very poor eyesight. And so
yes,
having
and Logan's here, so
distance-based distinctions may not be the best unless it's like sound, where it's like they can hear something rustling, so they know it's there, but they can't see it. But I think just having either it's here and it's like within my short vision range capabilities, or it's somewhere else, and so it's either this or that's somewhere away from me.
I've got two options that I would like to suggest. So
but then when the beavers get glasses, I'm game changer. Oh my God, I need to draw a beaver with glasses.
So one is proximal versus non-proximal. Another is proximal versus non-proximal earshot, or within earshot versus non-proximal.
If Jake and I go up at the same time and we just keep shouting the same answers at the same time, oh, that'll be good. Logan is saying they could judge distance by sound or smell, so that is an option if we do want to do something with that.
Well, here's a difficult question. Logan, is their sound range roughly equivalent to their smell range, or can they hear further than they can smell? If that makes sense. And that was my guess, by the way, that if one of them is going to be a greater distance than the other, my guess was hearing.
Okay, but like with a smell range, it's really interesting because something that leaves a smell but then leaves the area, you smell it in that area that they left the smell. Like if you think about a skunk, right?
Yeah.
It can spray, but then can be 3 miles down the road, but you can smell it anywhere within this area here. And so the smelling of the skunk has nothing to do with where it is now. Versus like smelling flowers that grow in that spot and aren't going to be moved. Like, they're there.
Smell doesn't really have a range. Well, that's not true. I mean, it's got a range for everything.
But then if the wind blows and suddenly you're smelling the factory that's 30 miles down the road, like I could in Longmont, let me tell you, those factories.
I'm gonna give you an example, Logan. I can't smell the ocean right now. That has nothing to do with time. That has to do with range. If we get closer and closer to the ocean, there will come a point where I will be able to smell it.
But on some days you can, and on other days you can't. Until you're right up to the ocean. Like if the wind is blowing slightly different direction and you're coming from here,
this is true,
etc.
But I'm going to say there is no point in time where you can smell the ocean from the spot that we are in.
Yeah. Well, now I'm going to give you a scratch and sniff ocean and be like, look, you can smell the ocean, David. Diffusion and molecule concentrations.
Okay,
and so to address, because I think this could go on for a very long time.
Can you smell the ocean, Logan?
Magpie, you're absolutely correct. Pachla had a 4-level distinction based on the 4 senses, and it had that because David did not believe that I could make it happen and make it make sense.
Yeah.
And then I did, and it became canon.
No, it was, honestly, I think it was one of the greatest moments for LangTime Studio ever. Jake is like right by the ocean. Or sorry, right by the sea. I don't know that it's
technically the ocean because it's, what did you call it? It's not an inlet. It's
A sporting fellow might be able to throw a baseball into the ocean from your house, Jake.
but it's not actually the ocean. It's the, what did Bibleridian call it?
Oh, I don't know if it's an
Because
isthmus.
that's why tide is so badly affected in the area because it doesn't have the full. But yeah, tide has crazy
That's true.
effects. Like there was a boat that was in the mud when we left because the water was so far away. So crazy. Estuary. That's what it's called. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so poor eyesight could create evidentiality distinctions. That could be something that we could play with. I don't know in this verb system that we want to go there, but like that is actually really interesting with the
It's
being able to see it.
its
happening right
staticness
here.
has nothing to do with it. You're too damn far from the ocean. You can't smell it.
Okay. Okay. The point is, if we're going to say something is close or far, I don't think smell can be used because things
Okay.
can leave scents that, especially like animal noses can pick up, but it doesn't mean they're in the area anymore. They could have scratched the tree and left their scent all up in the bark several hours ago, and they're, so far away right now.
Well, yeah, but that isn't. You wouldn't say that they're within smell range. You'd say the bark is. So that's the thing that you can smell.
It is, but what you smell is like the animal that scratched it, and the animal's not there anymore.
Yeah, but that it's not what you would just be describing. The smell would be within your smell range, not the animal,
But then why use the smell at all?
to describe distance.
I don't like it.
Then it's too far away.
No, yeah, so I don't like that for this.
All right.
But the within earshot and it's out of earshot,
Yeah.
which is something like what we did for the dogs.
What did we do for them?
I think we did that.
Okay. All right. Um.
I'm actually going to look it up because now I'm curious.
I don't know if this makes sense. I'm going to write it down.
Wow. Okay. So we just have like proximal and distal and then animate and inanimate distinction. The fact the distals come from, like basically the words themselves that have lexical forms, they come from sounds. So like storm and call. So it was
Oh,
sound
that's really
related.
cool.
But
That's really cool.
yeah.
So Jake is asking if there are two-dimensional deictic systems where they might encode near and above or far and under, and the answer is yes.
They do, because there's also demonstratives, yeah, that are it's that direction plus up, that
Yep.
direction plus down.
Yep.
And so yeah, I think there's anyway, yeah, they can get quite complex. And like I wanted to say a number because I remember looking at this information. And of course, the more distinctions that are coded, the less frequent they are. Demonstrative systems in languages tend to be or tend to become capped. They historically could have had more, but they tend to have 3 distinctions or 2. Like 2 or 3 is very common for world languages. It's really once you hit 4 that it becomes less common. And then anything above that is like less and less and less and less common very quickly, because it's like you can make more distinctions, but like on the fly, the things we use regularly tend to get more bleached. And so you end up sort of losing some of those finer distinctions. And so, yeah, there are ones though that are vertically oriented versus like distance oriented, and then person oriented versus, distance oriented.
Yeah, and then there's also like sight plus distance. So like something could be near you but not visible, or near you versus visible. So for example, right now my laptop is near me and visible, but the guitar hanging behind me is near me and not visible because I'm not turned in that direction. So not like it's invisible, but just I'm not looking at it right now. So that distinction is made. I did have an idea that I wanted to run by you.
Oh, and Jake does make a good point. I mean, they're going in and out of the water a lot, so being able to say something is near but underwater is actually quite helpful.
That was actually where I was going. So so I was going to say ground level and pertingent versus, that is how you spell it, right? Pertingent.
I think you made it up.
And then
oh no, David used a word with me
underground
earlier
water
that I was like, what?
versus above.
Pertingent
ground.
is a case found in the Tlingit language.
Yeah.
Used for something touching something else?
In the sky. Yes.
Okay.
So in the air. So this is so essentially there would be one stratum that's if it's on the ground level or if it's touching or customarily touching. So for example, it would still be a tree, right? Underground or underwater. And then in the air. And so this would be not just birds and clouds, but also say if there was a bird on a branch, that would be in the air. Like technically the tree is on the ground, but it's the tree that's firmly attached to the ground, not the bird. If the bird were on the ground level, then it would be pertingent. Anyway, so that's one idea.
That's a really cool idea. Very specific to, beavers and how they live. And so I like that. And the one that it's like it's underground or underwater is interesting because that requires, prior knowledge of it. Like it's not something that you can now see. It's you got to know that someone put it underwater, whether it was you or someone else. And so like that one is sort of a specialized one that you wouldn't see as much, but would be incredibly important for sort of organizing themselves in terms of being able to point out like, no, I mean, those leaves, the ones underwater in our little food cache down there for the winter. But you wouldn't have to say all that because you would just use this demonstrative that says it's the underwater ones, and they'd be like, of course those are those leaves. Why else would you have leaves underwater? Anyway.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I like that.
And then this stratum, I don't know if you want to consider this one mobile versus immobile. It's purely a class distinction. It's like something that you can move or not. You can't move a tree that's actually in the ground, but once you've gnawed it, and then yeah, you can move it. And so it's just a simple thing that could be done.
Would it be used outside of things that are normally stationary? Like it would have to be plants and trees, right? Because those are the things that can't move of their own volition, but which you could...
No, I would say things that are easily movable by one beaver. So, for example, a lodge is not. It's going to be in the immobile category. A dam is going to be in the immobile category, but a branch is always going to be in the mobile category. But you can imagine if they were playing Jenga, that's a really easy way to distinguish, when you press on one, it's like, clearly this one's going to move, and you press on another one, it's like, whoa, that one's not moving,
You got a point, Patrick.
Yeah. Hey, Dark Horse. Yeah.
Okay, I can see that. Okay, I feel like we've got a lot of good ideas
Yeah.
that I think David and I can sort of hash out and then put together a solid poll. We're now down to 10 minutes. I didn't mean for it to take this long, but at the same time, I'm glad it did because I feel like we had a lot of good ideas. Um, and now we have a lot to work with and think about. So that way, when
Yeah.
we end the stream, we're not like, well, wait, what should we do?
Yeah. All right.
Um,
Cool. But yeah,
awesome.
I am totally down with this idea of doing these, or at least one of them, or some.
I very suddenly am having incredibly bad pains shooting from my wrist.
This wrist?
This wrist, the one I'm holding, like it's broken. That wrist.
That was the same one that you were
Ooh.
having a problem with earlier.
Was I?
Yeah, when you were holding something.
Oh, because I couldn't pick up a cup of coffee, right? Yeah. God, it really sucks getting old.
That is one thing. Have you ever considered doing exercises with the?
What do you think crocheting and knitting are, good sir?
Antagonists?
That is working something like 35 muscles when I do that.
Well, there's working in the sense of they're building strength and working in the sense of they're tearing at you.
But I also do yoga.
No,
This
no,
gentle stretching and development.
no, but like, you do this.
I don't think that's going to do much besides antagonize it.
No, you're supposed to. It helps
Anyway.
mobility. Somebody back me up here. This is one of the things that I was told to do when I went in with my basketball wrist injury. Yeah.
I'll do that when the pain
Also,
is not shooting. Oh no, I
this-
do stuff like that all the time.
All right, all right, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. He is, right?
I care. I just want you to be happy and healthy. That's all.
Yeah, because you're going to have to live with me however fast I fall apart. You're stuck. I think, first and foremost, this adjective, the second adjective chart, adjective to adjective, we can go ahead and like pull these, which we had created for this, down here, right?
Oh yeah, if we're even going to use those. The only reason I didn't is I didn't even know if this table was going to stick around.
Well, I think we should change big because that's no longer how we use O. It was just that it worked.
Let's create a new word for big then.
We already did a thal.
We did?
Yeah.
Oh, so we need an entirely new one. We
need something that has
Yeah.
that roundness because
Yeah.
that's very quite really now, and so like it doesn't work as well for a table where sometimes our tables don't actually have meaning in all the cells. Like sometimes it's just there for the phonological pattern, but I feel like this one it would be good to at least have an U or an O that we could actually work with. And it specifically needs to be round. It could be disyllabic because I don't think that's a problem. And so round means it has to either be proto-a-u at the beginning or it's got to be u, right?
Yes, it does. I would say let's go with O.
A-u.
Yeah, I was thinking of A-U-L-A. Ola.
Ola. I like it. Let's make ola. What should ola mean?
I don't know.
What is ola feeling besides in need of a hug? Okay.
I get it. Dark Horse is suggesting Big Tooth for lazy. And the suggestion
if
is
you don't
because,
gnaw.
you got to gnaw to keep your teeth from overgrowing if you are a beaver or a rat. And I know that there are other animals that do this as well. I didn't know that about rabbits. I think you're right. Do we have that? That is a good word for long, actually. Do we have?
Oh, okay. So long is a suggestion. We can
Yeah.
go with that. Quiet was one I was thinking of suggesting. Um,
I like it for long. Can we
okay.
do another adjective after this? That's quiet because that's a
Well,
very
we
good one to
can, but
have.
like we can actually also get this chart going if we just want to.
Well, we can do both at the same time. What do you like for quiet?
Hola. You asked. That's really on you. All right. Let me get this entered down here. That's hola. Okay. Actually, I mean, this is a hefty root, but quiet or silent or peaceful could be this couvre-moi. It's couvre-moi.
I kind of like that. I know it's very big, but I kind of like that. Um, let's do it.
I think Biberidian made up a word.
Hmm.
Is that pronounced glires or gliers? Glier.
Possibly all. Yeah, is that glier? Glier?
Okay, I'm going to leave this up so that way if you need that etymology here.
Modern is just KUV, right? KUV
M fancy E. Okay. It's a clade consisting of rodents and lagomorphs. Those are rabbits, hares, and pikas.
Pika. Lagomorph I know because that's from Final Fantasy 3/6.
When it has an S on it, glyres.
Oh dear. That's terrible.
Glyres or
It's a good picture.
gliers or gliers. Okay, it was a good picture of a bunny. Okay, you got the couvre-moi etymology. I'm gonna delete, and that's gonna be.
I didn't have it, but I got it now.
Yeah, that's correct. All right, we're gonna get to quiet. Oh my God. No, I know how to alphabetize. No, it's fine. It's fine. Quiet. And then, what else did you enter? Did you go with silent?
No.
Just quiet?
But no, you're right. Since we have that very in there, let's do it. Quiet, silent.
Well, I guess silent is like the extreme of quiet. Yeah, it's the absence. So do we want to have a different word for that?
No.
No? Okay.
Dark Horse, you might have left by the time we did that, but we did that because you made that suggestion earlier, and we added it. So yeah, smooth noise is music.
Which is elad.
Yeah, elad. And can you re-ask your previous question? I'm sorry. Oh yeah. No. I did want silent. It was because of the very thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So
Yeah, but it's primates, not primates. So that's why gliaries is striking me as a little odd.
What is the cell width? 1.32.
Oh, just do distribute columns evenly.
This is 1.22 though.
Yeah, I know, but like it'd be fine if you just.
Now it's right in with what's above it. Okay.
We're actually at 401. We didn't.
Oh my gosh! And all we did was set up a chart.
Yeah,
Okay.
we didn't. I mean, we've got a couple new adjectives, which is nice. We didn't come up with a new derivation.
Cool. Well, we're set up for next time, David.
I'm actually going back and forth on using ta as a prefix.
What?
For place. But no,
Oh, for the actual location, the place, like adjective to noun place. Which, I mean, it could, because if you're just thinking about a spot to put something, that could then have been the generic place, which became prefix. That's true. That is true. Spend some good time with it. If we use it, that doesn't mean we have to have, like that's our only word for place or for marking locations.
No.
It's just like that was there, it was in the language, and
we will have to figure out how it goes in front of verb. In front of vowels though, and it comes from a long vowel.
ta, yeah.
No, forget it. We're doing something different. All right.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. As a reminder, we will not be here next Thursday.
No.
And so either happy election day or just happy whatever Thursday you make of it. And then we will be doing a test stream tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific. Feel free to jump in and help us out by letting us know if you can hear everyone and see the things we need you to see on the screen. It will just be a test. Nothing will get done on languages, we promise. Saturday, we have a patron live stream at 1 p.m. Pacific.
What language are we working on, Jesse?
It's Pathla. And we're getting those names. We're getting much closer. Like we've got a lot done. We're gonna keep whittling down and keep naming things. And then on Sunday, Conlang Conflict, our first ever Family Feud style game show live stream, and it'll be LTS. It'll be me, Biblard, and Artifexian. And already I can tell you, Bib and I are like, yay, Artifexian, carry the team.
Bolts versus Lab.
Sorry, I don't think I told Artifexian that when I invited to participate, that we're already counting on him. But anyway, and then Let's Have a Booba. The team will be Jake, Miles, and Jonathan. And so we're all going to have our Conlang Conflict out live stream, and it'll be a lot of fun. So thank you all. Have a wonderful weekend. We hope to see you around one of the many days we will be streaming. And until next time, stay grammar.
Bye, everybody.